Morning, everybody. My name is Cadet Alafai Fofoliano, and today I will be doing a battle analysis on the Battle of Antietam. All right, let's begin. So let's define the subject. So the location is Sharpsburg, Maryland, in the vicinity of that area. The combatants are the Union Army of the Potomac, led by General George McClellan, going up against the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia, led by General Robert Lee. This battle takes place September 17, 1862. At the beginning of the Civil War. So let's review the setting really quickly. So during this time of the war, the Union Army is facing a lot of defeats from the Confederates, so much so that General Lee decides to invade the Union and invade into Maryland, right on the doorstep of the capital. And he hopes to be able to land a huge blow to the Union. So much so that it causes a psychological effect, and hopefully in hopes of ending this conflict as soon as he can. Also to recruit more people to his cause especially in this area of Maryland. Facing this, President Lincoln instructs General McClellan to intercept General Lee and to push him back towards the south, but not only to push him towards there, but to also destroy his forces and get a decisive victory for the Union because they're desperately in need. So, but yeah, that's the setting going into this battle. What gives McClellan a lot of optimism is he discovers intelligence on the plans of Robert Lee, his plans during his invasion. So that's very important, and we'll see why. So troops on the field, Lee has 40,000, McClellan outnumbers Lee 65,000 in this battle. However, let's analyze this battle. Let's describe actions on. So McClellan, he gets to the Sharpsburg area and he pauses because he believes that Lee outnumbers him, which is definitely not the case. And Lee uses the terrain to his advantage to set up a strong defensive position. As you can see here, we have a few woodland areas. We have Antietam Creek coming down here, and the Sharpsburg area, and a lot of open fields. This is a lot of farmland with the cornfield crops scattered throughout. And Lee decides to set up a left and a right flank and a center around Sharpsburg, facing towards McClellan's incoming army. There is 3 sub-battles that make up the larger Battle of Antietam, as McClellan decides to attack Lee's left and right flank and then aim for the center. So the day of, he decides to attack in the morning Lee's left and right flank. So let's discuss the left flank really quickly. To sum it up, Officer Hooker, who's in charge of the Union, they push through. They experience a lot of heavy fire from cannon fire from the artillery by Officer Jackson of the Confederacy. As they push through, they're experiencing a lot of casualties. And as a matter of fact, on both sides. Eventually, they break these forces here around this area near Dunker Chapel. And unfortunately, Officer Hooker shot in the foot and he leaves the battlefield without a commander to maneuver and unify these forces. They just get stuck and stop their pursuit here. Now, let's go to Lee's right flank that is being attacked by Officer Burnside of the Union Army. So they have to get across Antietam Creek. The main thing that happens here is Burnside sends 3 brigades. As he sends them through Burnside Bridge, he gets peppered by a lot of fire because it's a chokehold point, and the Confederates take advantage of that. So he sends 1 brigade. They retreat, sends a second, they retreat a third. Finally, they push through this. And by the afternoon, they send Lee's forces on this right flank back towards Sharpsburg. However, at 4 p.m., Officer Hill of the Confederacy. These are troops that have traveled over 17 miles. They finally arrive in a timely manner and are able to stop McClellan's forces here. Now, what happens in the center? As you can see right here, there's a wagon trail. And this provides a lot of cover and concealment for Lee's troops right here. They also have these large fences, farming fences that they're able to get really dug in there. And the way they're fighting, especially the Union, they're marching kind of how they did in the Revolutionary Army. They're not really utilizing a lot of guerrilla tactics and surprise. They're just marching in formation. And there's a lot of open area. They're just getting peppered by the Confederates so much that they're losing so many people. However, like we mentioned, the Confederates are outnumbered by the Union. Eventually, they push through. However, they've lost so many people that they just stop after they push through this what's called Bloody Lane. And you'll see why it's called Bloody Lane, because the amount of casualties that they take. So after days of fighting, they lose a lot of people on both sides. The next morning, McClellan pauses, and by stopping the attack, this allows Lee to escape across the Potomac River back into Virginia. And McClellan ends up not accomplishing his mission, which is to destroy Lee's forces and hopefully leading to end this conflict. So let's look at the casualties. The Union Army, 2,100 killed. Confederates, 1,550 killed. And you can see the numbers for the wounded and the missing and captured. Here is a photo of that wagon trail I was telling you guys about, the Bloody Lane. And the reason why it's called the Bloody Lane, you can see this carnage of just bodies stacked upon bodies, showing you just how many people died. Let's assess the significance of the battle and the larger picture and the lessons that we can learn militarily and tactically. So let's discuss the Union. So one advantage is intelligence plays a key role into preparedness for a battle. It can make or break a battle and lead to good decisions that can help you maximize the outcome that you may want as a commanding officer. And McClellan had that intelligence that allowed him to know how to maneuver his troops. And obviously, superior numbers is going to help. Superior numbers can help, you to victory. However, like we talked about, they're only so good as long as you know how to utilize and maximize this. And with superior numbers, obviously McClellan thought he was outnumbered, so that didn't help him in his decision making. Weaknesses, cautious leadership. McClellan, he was overly cautious, and this allowed for a lot of delays in his plans for attacking Lee's defense. But those delays were costly, as they allowed Lee to set up his defense and maneuver his artillery and forces to maximize that position despite being outnumbered. Disjointed attacks. McClellan only gave orders and a picture to his three commanders of the different areas on the battlefield for their specific area. He didn't give them a larger picture over what he wanted to accomplish around Lee's defense. And this didn't help as it led to disjointed attacks between their officers in adapting to what Lee's defense responded with. Burnside's bridge. Here's a picture of Burnside Bridge. It was repeated assaults by Burnside's so it's named after Burnside because that was the commanding officer for the Union, that bridge. But anyways, they just lost so many people, and it wasn't a key terrain. They could have hit Lee's right flank and using different ways to cross the Antietam Creek. Very ineffective. Let's talk about the Confederates. Defensive stand. Despite being outnumbered, Lee really maximizes the terrain and his forces to set up a defense that was able to counter the large Union attack. However, he kind of gambled because dividing his army the way he did was risky. However, like we talked about, Officer A.B. Hill ended up helping him at that timely matter to repel McClellan. Disadvantages, divided forces, like we talked about, and leadership losses. During this battle, the Confederates lost a lot of people and they lost a lot of leaders, which kind of led to the flimsiness of how they responded when the Union overcame them at different points of the battle. Let's talk about the larger picture. So, according to many historians, yes, militarily, this was a draw. There wasn't a, Confederate or a Union victory. However, although it was a tactical stalemate, the Union achieved a strategic victory in the larger Civil War because they were able to halt Lee's invasion of the Union and force him to retreat. And this was a turning point because this battle demonstrated that the Union, despite many losses, was able to hold their own against the Confederacy. And this raised a lot of morale and fostered a lot of hope for the Union supporters and the Army. And a key thing to this is the Emancipation Proclamation. After this battle, Lincoln used this victory to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. And this is where the Civil War starts to focus on a war to end slavery. And yeah, now was it seen as a victory for Union, even though the Union lost more troops than the Confederates? Well, quite frankly, the Union was able to afford to lose more troops. The Confederates weren't able to lose that much as it dented their forces a lot. And like I said, this stalemate, that's just how they interpreted it. And finally, the bloodiest day, despite there's a lot of conflicts in American history, but the Battle of Antietam still today proves to be the bloodiest single day in American history, with the amount of casualties that it had, and the pictures, they don't lie. So yeah, we learned a lot of things about what went right, what went wrong, in McClellan and Lee's decisions that can help us, as officers in battle. But we also, I think it's great to show appreciation for the result and the effects it has had on our country. And that concludes my battle analysis. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of things we can learn from tactically, militarily, but also a lot to appreciate and a lot to recognize historically, not only for the Civil War, but for our history as a country. Barring any questions, that concludes my brief on my battle analysis of Antietam. Thank you very much for listening, and yeah, thanks.